All right, and good morning for Mindset Monday. I am extremely excited for the opportunity to be able to share with everybody again, really something that's on my heart whenever we wrap up a month. And the biggest piece of wrapping up a month is always reflection and reflection with purpose. And when I started to think about this particular month and the advancement and the success that we've seen inside this community, I was really drawn to this conversation. And I know there are many members in our group, and most job seekers are absolutely exhausted. But they're not always exhausted for the reason that they might think. They're not exhausted because they're doing too much. That's what most of us do think. They're exhausted because they're trying to control things that were never really theirs to control in the first place. So let me just say this a little louder, not just for everybody in the back, but also for everybody that's right here in front of us today. And that is, you can't control if a company posts a job and never hires for it. If a recruiter responds to, or a recruiter never responds to you. If they choose someone with less experience because they're cheaper. If the process drags on for weeks and then resets. If they are internal candidates that are already lined up, thus you don't even get that second or third call. Or even the dreaded ATS, if it filters your resume out before a human ever sees it. You can't control any of that. And whether you end up in this position by your choice, or maybe the company has put you in this position by their choice, at this moment, none of that really matters. You're here right now. And when control is gone in these certain areas, you have to learn to let go of those areas that they have no control over. And here's really where most job seekers get this wrong. They stop at, I can't control anything. And that's fundamentally not true. That has been proven over and over and over again inside of JSC. Because we take this process and we make it simple. So we look at it in 3 layers. And the first layer is layers of no control. And this is the concept of just release it. Because there are things that you simply do not control and will never control. And if you cannot influence something within the next 24 hours, then that one thing does not deserve your emotional energy, or as I like to say, your emotional calories. You don't need to give it your frustration. You do not need to give it your stress. And you do not need to give it your time, most importantly. Now, in the second layer, there is really the indirect influence. And this is where you're building. Now, this is where the game actually starts to be played. You may not control the outcomes every single time, but you absolutely can influence your probability and the statistics of success. This is the conversations that you get to have, the people who know your name, the value that you are creating, the follow-ups that you send, and the way you show up in rooms. This is networking done correctly. This is strategic alignment. And this is fundamentally your focus on building your name so that it's said in the rooms that you're never going to get to be a part of. And the third layer, and this one most of us will appreciate, this is the direct control. This is all about execution. And this is the one where maybe all of us have to be a little honest because we want it. But this is also where most of us as job seekers fall short. And these are the things you can control. Sometimes we choose not to. This is your daily structure, your outreach, your preparation, your consistency, your health, your mindset, and your environment around you. Here's the honest truth for me. Most job seekers are over-obsessing on what they can't control and under-executing on what they can. So let me really challenge you for a second. Are you actually doing everything you can in the areas of your control, or are you spending more time thinking about what's unfair? Because the market, it might be tough. No, let me retract that. The market is tough. With all the adjustments in technology, AI, ATS advancements, it might be changing things. 100%, your financial stress just might be real and maybe right in your face. All of those things can be true. And you still have the responsibility every day to execute. And so in JSC, we talk about this a lot, but maybe we don't talk about it enough in the ether. Emotions are not the problem. You are allowed to feel frustrated. You are allowed to feel tired. You're allowed to feel uncertain. But when those emotions go unprocessed, they start making all of your decisions for you. And those decisions start to look a whole lot like this. I'm not going to reach out. I'm going to skip my preparation. I'm going to break up the consistency that I built, and you start isolating yourself. That's where the momentum absolutely fundamentally breaks down. So what I want this to be is the goal is not to remove your emotion. The goal is actually to lean into it, feel it, process it, and let it lead you forward with the right disciplines. Because if your body feels off, then your decisions will be off. If you're not sleeping, if you're not physically moving, if you're not being focused on your nutrition, if you're not getting outside, then your energy will drop, your focus drops, your confidence drops. And now the job search will feel 10 times harder than it actually is. So part of controlling what you control is taking care of yourself like it actually matters, because the truth of all of this, when it's as hardest to take care of yourself, that's when you should be taking care of yourself. This season is not just about getting a job. It's about becoming the person who can hold the next opportunity when it shows up. And what I want you to remember is this: perfection is impossible, but the pursuit of perfection is absolutely perfect. And that's the goal every single day. Not perfectly, not at once, but consistently. You don't need more control. You need better discipline in the areas where you already have it. I beg you, focus there, build there, execute there. Your time is coming. Promise you that. Whether you're a part of Foundations or Foundations Plus, or just hanging out in the community, it will work out for you. But you have to be ready, and you need to make sure you're doing everything you can in what you can control, so that when it happens for you, you execute. All right. All right, and good morning. I have something playing in the background. This is what I was worried about. For the opportunity. There we go. Got it. All right, guys. Questions, concerns, thoughts? Courtney joined. Hey, Courtney.
Well, I think that was timely for me, Stephen, because things are happening, but they're not happening in the timeline I would like them to be happening. And I'm naturally impatient to start with. So I do struggle sometimes with evasive thoughts because of that. But I'm like, Stephanie, do process and time. It's their timeline. They need their 6 rounds of interviews. You're only at 4. It'll happen. So it's good to kind of listen about, get outside and do things you enjoy and not sit in those moments of frustration. So that was helpful.
Yeah, and I think if you're a straight job seeker, and Stephanie, you've done this before. I know you've done the traveling, and if you guys ever want to get some advice on cruising, Stephanie is your gal for sure. Professional cruiser, but
true.
Yeah. Which I should call you actually. We actually were just looking to book one, so I should call you actually to save some cash because
Happy to help.
you to give that call. But I think that's true because we do want everything to be perfect, right? And we expect perfection from ourselves. And I think that's when I've listened to your story recently. I mean, Tiffany's going through it right now. She's in the waiting game. She literally is just waiting at this point, and that's hard. Courtney's been there. I know that. It's just difficult. I can think through, what Stephanie's going through right now, and I know Patrick's just in the start of his process. Everybody's in these different stages, but I mean, Lutz had to wait 1.5 weeks just to get his final offer ready to know he was done, and it's grueling. So I get that. It's tough. That's tough. Now, what do you do typically, Stephanie, to ease that?
So I always, professionally persistent in terms. So for example, I just had a that's bad, either third or fourth round interview with some folks, and last Monday. And I sent my thank you note, as I always do, to the team. And, I put those little notes of peppering in active listening, what I learned through that next round. And I haven't heard from them. And so certainly I think a full week later, but I was given a verbal that I'm on the next round, because I always try to get a verbal before I get off the phone anyway. And I was given a verbal that, absolutely, we're going to recommend you for the next round. You're in, that type of thing. But I haven't heard from them. But that's typical of this organization. So I'm not shocked. So when that does happen, I try to be persistent. I'll add them on LinkedIn, or I'll send, like today I sent a follow-up note. Those sort of things is what I do. Or then I also get back to the drawing board, because I don't want to keep all my eggs in one basket. Because you just never know what could happen. So it does give me a sense of urgency in that way.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Courtney, hey, Steve, sorry I couldn't unmute quick enough. And listening to Stephanie, I totally agree with everything you're saying. For me, it's just like, it's retooling and taking a step back for a second. Last week I was sick. I had the flu, so I was down and out, and didn't really come back to life until Saturday and Sunday. And so last night, while watching March Madness, it was just kind of like retooling and rethinking and thinking about, all right, what am I going to do this week? Start off Monday. What is my discipline? I'm going to sit down, and who am I going to reach out to over email? Who am I going to pick up the phone and call? Who do I need to follow up with? Someone who from a previous past interview was like, hey, we love you and we really enjoyed getting to know you and we'd love to recommend you for another role, but blah, blah, blah. Who can I circle back with that I have not yet circled back with that maybe perhaps I was putting off and need to just do? So it's the retooling, the rethinking, recalibrating, and also sitting down and just being disciplined about doing just that. Because it's very easy in my head to be like, oh, I'll get to that tomorrow, or I'll get to that when the baby's asleep, or I'll get to that after dinner, or I'll get to that after I do the dishes. So if I can just have a moment to kind of get my thoughts in order, and sometimes that's going for a run. Last night, like I said, it was sitting down and watching basketball with my family. But rethinking, retooling, and kind of figuring out, all right, you know what? Mindset Monday. Okay, check. After that, what am I going to do? What's on my list? Check, check, check. And for me, if I can write those things down and then actually physically check them off a list, I feel like I have accomplished something in what can often be, a rat race of ghosting and, circling back and the same things over and over again. But the discipline that I think sometimes you as a person can bring to the table helps me continue on in the day-to-day process.
It's awesome. It's very good. Very good. Yeah, and Tiffany says something kind of similar, where she focuses her energy on what she can control, prepping for another interview for Tuesday. She's networking, she's applying. So even though she's in a waiting game, right, and that anxiety of that's something you just can't control, could stop her. She's not, right. And I think that's the same thing I hear everybody kind of saying. So that's great. And I think that's very true. You need a system to fall back on. You need a process to rely on. We talked about this the last several weeks, where, when things get tough, when the pressure mounts, when the weight starts to sit on you, that's when you if you're an athlete, you hear someone like an athlete say, you've got ice in your veins, right? They can live up to that pressure. Well, the only reason why they have ice in their veins and they live up to that pressure, quote unquote, is because they practice repetition and they have a system and a process for what they do, right? That's no different for us as job seekers, is that if we don't practice and we don't focus, on what's right, and we don't build out what works for us and a system that allows us to be successful, then those percentages and those probabilities become tougher for us to realize. And when that happens, then of course we can find ourselves to falter. But there's no way to focus on just goals, right? It's better to focus in on those outcomes. Yeah. Michael, did you want to add, or Caitlin, sorry, Katie, I said 3 names. I'll come up with them. I'm just going to call you Kay. I'm just going to keep making things up.
It's just Kate.
Katie, I'm going to mess it all up. I'm going to so
yeah, I really, the part where you started talking about like self-care and like making sure that you are, you know, moving and eating right. I think that kind of resonated with me when I can get really tunnel vision on, well, all kinds of things, but like right now, very much with the job searching, and it starts to feel like, oh, you know, spending half an hour cooking a healthy lunch versus just grabbing a bag of chips. If I do that, I can get back to looking for jobs again and doing all that stuff. But I know that I need to, you know, make sure that I'm taking care of myself first, so that I have the energy when I, you know, go into doing these things I need to do.
Yeah, and that's a big focus. And if you think about just the standards of life, that when you're a job seeker, it can be hard because of the financial stress to even do to be that healthy side, right? And so setting those right parameters the best you can to keep the percentage chance that you're going to do the right things at the right moment is so important. The other thing that I'll show you, just to give you some grace there, understand that those jobs are, if that job pops up in the 30 to 45 minutes that you decided to go and eat a healthy lunch, right? Or sit outside for 30 to 45 minutes, if that's really the moment that job comes through, and because of that, you missed it and you can't apply anymore and it's gone. Don't live your life like that. That wouldn't work in the same way. And I'll share this with you too. Of my group that I'm now working through and have been working through their 30, 60, 90 from being hired, that have gone to be a job seeker and then get into work. That is the exact same thing that they all say. Well, but I've got to stay focused. I can't be healthy. I can't prep meals. I can't eat healthy at night. And that wears you down. I'm not getting sleep. I'm stressing about winning. I'm stressing about losing my job again. Those things will wear you down. So everything that you're building, the habits, the structure, that's where 9 to 3 comes from that we teach. If you can live your life in this season of uncertainty by creating your own certainty, when you get interjected back into work, and you will, right? All of you will, everybody will. When you get back into that, those habits that you create now become the foundation and the structure that allow you to be successful when life goes chaotic for another reason. And that's because you no longer have control of all of your day-to-day activities from your 9 to 3, 9 to 5 role, right? Because now a boss is breathing down your neck. You've got clients, you've got expectations and deadlines, and everything else fills up your day, right? The more structure, the more you build now in uncertainty. When you have certainty, that structure will transfer over. And when the pressures of everything else come back, you'll be better off. So just give yourself some grace. I think everybody struggles with that. But I would really take the moments as you have them and build on that. I really would highly recommend it. Michael, you wanna tag and add anything to that?
Yeah, so apologies first for having my camera off. I have a pretty bad internet connection today here in the area, so it tends to lag when I have my video. But I think for me, you know, for those that don't truly know me that well, you'll be shocked to know that I'm actually a pretty strong introvert, and someone who can play the extroverted role and can get out there and put myself out and speak in front of crowds and, you know, all of that stuff. But it drains so quickly because I'm naturally that introvert person. But I'm also very competitive. And so one of the things that you notice in my mindset post is I've been really reflecting on the man in the mirror, the person in the mirror, and making sure that who you are looking at is reflective of who you are and who you want to be. And so that for me has always been a very powerful analogy. And so I have always found that I measure my return to to see how fast I can get my return. So when something starts to spiral or something gets me down, or something along that line, I really have made a competition with myself to see how fast I can rebound from it and how fast I can return from it. And so that was sort of the mindset that I posted today. And Stephen, it sort of mirrors a little bit about what you were talking about, because we typically just do that. But if you have checked it out, go in, read it. I think there's some pretty good information in there about who I am, and that might resonate with you on some levels as well.
It's awesome. I have to check that out for sure. Yeah, and that when the man in the mirror has been fun for me, and I actually did some research on this, and this is a fun little twister. Do you guys know that you never actually see yourself?
Correct.
You never actually see your real self. You see it through a screen, you see it through a mirror, everything's reversed and backwards. You never actually see yourself the way everyone else sees you. Think about that for a second. It's actually impossible.
And then we always have such a distorted view of who we are as well compared to what everybody else sees.
Yeah. We're our own worst enemies. Depends on our level of narcissism. We might be our biggest supporters. Right? It's an interesting place when you step back and you put perspective on the fact that, we formulate these opinions on ourselves without ever actually looking at ourselves and really truly seeing ourselves. So,
and we take on that baggage a lot of times that's not even fairly put on us by ourselves. So think about that when you are not taking care of yourself, not meal prepping, not running, not doing all the things that you think you should be doing. Is that really perception, or is that something that you put on yourself?
Yeah.
Is it reality, or is it self-imposed?
Yeah, that's a great point too. And I for everyone who's been a part of members or foundations or Foundation Plus, you guys all know, the structure, the system, you understand it. But for anyone who has not been around for that long inside of it, the system is designed with some key points of reference so that you can lean in the areas that you need to, and you can work the entire system through exactly how it's designed, or you can, of course, take the pieces of it, take your strengths, run with your strengths, take your weaknesses, build on those weaknesses. The system is designed so that you can do it at your pace, at your speed, at where you're at, and it evolves and grows with you throughout your journey. That's no different than what Michael just said. No different at all, right? Everyone's level of health, everyone's level of mental focus, all of that adjusts and shifts, and you have to understand that you hold yourself to the standard. No one is coming to save you, but everybody here can support you. You're the only one who can truly actually take actions and take movements, as well as be the one who can, everyone will come behind you and say, let me help you up. You have to choose to let everybody help you up too, right? And guide you through these different moments. Anyway, I'm done. I won't preach. I can do that forever. And I do have to run because we have a new potential member that's meeting right now, actually. So I've got to jump to that call. But thank you guys as always. I'll see all of our foundations members at the open office hours. I appreciate you guys. Have a great week. And let's stay, most importantly, out of everything that we do, let's stay focused on what makes us all special, and stay focused on your superpowers as you lean into this week. And don't forget, please don't forget, that everything you do, right, every movement you make, it needs to be based on what you can control and let the rest go. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, Michael. Have a good week.
Bye, everyone.